Hi, my name is JoAnn McDonald. I am here in sunny, usually sunny Pensacola, Florida, and you are in for a treat today. I am at the perfect house, Chateau Gonzo here, and this is the owner, my very dear friend, Joey Miller, and he is going to give us a tour. You are in for a treat. Now keep in mind, it is a couple of days before Christmas. It's the end of December, so everything is not as lush as usual, but you're in for a treat. Let's go. Here we are. What's first, my dear?
Well, welcome. Just to give you a little history about the house, we did buy it about 2 years ago. It was a hoarder house. There was not a single plant that you'll end up seeing in the yard at that time, except for this large tree here, which we'll show you here in a second.
Yes.
But we remodeled the house, and of course, one of the things I love is plants.
Yes.
So went from one hoarder of items to a hoarder of plants, as you can say.
But that's a good addiction.
Yes. So with that, we'll give you a tour of the house.
Oh, fantastic. Let's go.
So let's begin the tour with the only plants that are still in the yard and the only plants that were actually in the yard when we bought the house. So everything, like I said, that you end up seeing is stuff that we've planted. One of the things that I love to do is, you know, when I see people leaving stuff by the curb or rescue plants, that's one of the things that I love to do.
Yes.
So this is the giant magnolia. As you'll see, it's decorated for Christmas, but normally in the summer I have staghorns and ferns and monsteras hanging from the tree because I wanted to have a little bit of that banyan tree feel. With some cast iron plants that I actually dug up from a friend's yard. Wanted to get rid of them. I said, I'll take them all. So of course the magnolia was the only thing in that palm tree there, but everything else that you'll end up seeing in the yard has been planted in the last, believe it or not, 2 years. This is only a 2-year-old yard. So as you'll see, normal landscaping, or what I consider normal. Most people be like, that's too much for me.
No, never.
This plant here is, you'll see it's a tractor seat. A lot of people are like, why is it called a tractor seat? But you'll see it looks just like a tractor seat. And I have people literally that'll stop on the road and be like, what in the world is that plant there? I need to have some. I also have, this is a cool, I'll show you one of these. Speaking of tractor seats, this one's called Starry Night. A lot of people think it actually has a disease, but no, it's fireflies that you see, of course, on the little yellow spots here and there, and they bloom in the winter, which is nice because most everything else isn't.
And I noticed that beautiful specimen of the Japanese maple. That is lovely.
Yep, Japanese maple, some people call them acers. My hear them as that, but that's another, you'll hear me say this a lot when I'm going through, but I love to save stuff. And that's another one of those finds that I got on sale. Somebody was throwing away, so I said, I'll take it, nurse it back. That's one of my favorite. Of course, you'll see some split leaf philodendrons, some loropetalums, lily of the Nile. These are gorgeous during the summer. Which, speaking of, in the spring, in May, we have a Pensacola Garden Society here, and they have given me the honor to do one of their shows. So they're probably going to be around 700-800 people that are be touring the yard. So you might have to come here during this time.
I will come.
Yes, to help
another tour.
Help tell everybody what the plants are. These are my agapanthus or lily of the Nile. They'll have the big blue pom-poms and whites, about 4 or 5 feet high. They're gorgeous. People love them. And my irises, they don't look the greatest right now, but they'll start popping up soon.
It is Christmas, and didn't you just remove 2 huge?
Yes, I usually have 2. You can kind of see where the pots were at, but I have 2 macho ferns that probably weigh.
Supposed to freeze overnight?
Yeah, we're supposed to get in the 20s tonight, and which is unusual for this area. Usually we do not get below freezing. The water's about 2 blocks down, but it's supposed to be extra cold, so I'm taking extra precaution. You'll see my makeshift greenhouse here in a bit that's completely packed.
What are these little darlings?
Those are some dianthus. They do very well. They spread. I love them because they mound right over. A lot of times you can pick them up. It's like carpet. And they'll go over the sidewalk, and they don't mind the cold. They actually do well in the heat of the summer, and the cold they do very well too.
Tell me about these. It's not green, but where did you get these? What are these?
These are funny. One of the things that we love to do here is for the holidays, you see all the Christmas lights, Christmas trees. Halloween is also a big event in the neighborhood, and I wanted an old cemetery fence. So I found this online. It's actually from the 1800s. And it's an old cemetery fence, and there's actually other pieces that go with. You'll also see down here I have a ton of amaryllis. That's probably one of my favorites. I have almost every color that you can think of. This bed is actually only a year old. My neighbors love it. Ever since, of course, since I've been here, there wasn't anything here. So now they're like, anything that I do, they're like, what are you putting in now?
What are you doing?
So this flower bed was put in about a year ago. I kind of use it more as my cut flower bed. And I have gladiolas that will come up, society garlic, amaryllis, my English roses. As you'll see, they're almost done for the year.
David Austin's.
They are David Austin's. By far one of the best roses that I've ever had. I'm not a big fan of roses because I'm semi-maintenance free type person, but they hardly ever get any disease on them. They did extremely well. You'll kind of see the English roses have a little bit tighter bud on them. As you'll see with that. Once again, it's unusual for this time of year for them to be blooming, but very fragrant, almost like an apricot smell to them.
Tell me a little bit about the house.
Yeah, the house was built in 1932. We are, and it's not considered a historic district, but it's borderline historic. So one of the things we want to do when we remodeled is to bring the house back to the 1930s, but with a modern twist.
Yes.
Because we love the modern conveniences and all that fun stuff.
Yes.
But one of the things you don't get with modern conveniences, you'll see down here, they lined the entire yard with this brick that matches the house. And that's one of the things that draws me to it. So as you'll see, I tried to match a little bit with the other side of the house, make sure, with the tractor seat plants. I also really love Venetian gardens, the English, you'll see with the boxwoods. It's still growing in, but the hedge, I plan on having some swirls and different cones with the hollies and some different aspects with them. Got to have my amaryllis in here because of pop of color in the spring.
Yes, they're lovely.
So let's make our way to the backyard. This is called a fire spike. They do really well. It's one of those
Aptly named.
Yes, and this is a cherry tree. Yes, covered in Christmas lights right now, but pretty in pink. This is a very unique plant. Shouldn't be growing here as well, and we'll get to find out if it'll make it through the winter. It's a tropical, was it a bird of paradise? I believe so, or a Mexican bird of paradise, sorry.
Okay, beautiful.
But it'll lose all of its leaves. It reminds me a lot of a mimosa because of the leaves. When I was a little kid, we used to love to take these off and go down, strip all the leaves off.
Yeah.
Why, I don't know, but it was one of those fun things we would do as a kid. It's a oak leaf hydrangea.
Yes, mine too, as you can see. Oh, look, here's a good example.
Yep.
Look how big.
It has giant,
elongated.
Giant spikes on it in the spring, the white flower. Now, one of the big things, and I always like to give tips to people too, if you didn't know.
Oh, please do.
A lot of people are like, ooh, I'm gonna do cut flowers or bring these in the house. Okay, but just expect wherever you took that flower off, you will not have a bloom next year. Because oak hydrangeas, you'll see this here, that's the flower starting to form for next year.
Okay.
So it always grows off of old growth. That's one of the things with oak hydrangeas.
Okay, I did not know that.
Yep. So that's one of the cool things with that.
The tips.
This is my favorite aunt in South Florida. She gave me a passion vine.
Okay.
So she gave me a piece of hers, and I wanted some other ones that were in town too. Another thing about this plant was maybe this big in spring.
You have a green thumb.
Well, I think it's just crazy.
Whole body's green.
But it grows.
Jolly green giant.
Right? It just grows like crazy. You'll see here one of the things that I've noticed with this is it blooms on new growth.
Okay.
So I usually trim it, cut it, because it always starts blooming. Because about a year and a half, 2 years ago, we did put a pool in, which you'll see.
Oh, yes.
So everything you see, there was absolutely nothing. All the way to the fence, there used to be an old rusty chain link fence.
There's no
the only thing that you'll see
paths.
is the brick that's right here, the path around the side, and that's pretty much it.
Let's go.
Yes.
Let's continue. I see you have a water feature.
I do. One of the things that I like to have in the yard is a good ecosystem, and that's another suggestion, because you've got to have bugs, you've got to have birds, you've got
the circle of life.
Exactly. One of the things that we do, of course, is the milkweeds, the big with the monarch butterflies.
Yes.
Now with this one, you have to be careful. Some people, this one's not native, so shame on me. But as long as you cut it down in the fall, that'll make the monarchs migrate south. So you're okay to have these, because you have to be careful if you leave them. You can see a little bit on this. Oh, there's actually a caterpillar right there.
Oh, goodness gracious. Okay.
I don't know if you can see. Super tiny. I don't know if he's going to make it through the night, so I might have to put him in the house. But I had about, I think we had 20 or 30 chrysalis, so we had several of them come out.
Wow.
But a little bit about this area. I originally started it off and it was supposed to be white and purple. Like, in order for it to be in here, it had to have a white bloom or a purple bloom. That's slowly changed because I'm like, hey, I need more room. I want to plant this. This is called, you'll end up hearing, I believe it's called the Turas. This one's called the angel trumpet, or not the angel, but the devil's trumpet. Once again, when we go through the angels are coming, you know, down from heaven and go down, where the devils come up from the ground. So this one usually blooms up. And you can see it's seed pods.
Lovely.
So I'll have several seeds that come out that I can give you if you want some.
Oh,
and then,
yes.
of course, they just fall on the ground. And one of the things I like is, here's one of the babies that's come up from one of the seeds. And I love their black stems. I think that's just
Very
one of
unusual,
the favorite things I like.
unique.
This is a loquat tree.
I love it.
Yeah, it's a little pokey, so don't get too close.
That's
but
all
it
right.
makes the best smelling. I mean, the fruit's just absolutely amazing. It's easy to propagate. They smell very good at night. Usually these, well, of course, you'll start seeing fruit on some of these soon. But as long as the bees can pollinate and make some fruit, we'll be good.
Now tell me about that. I've seen, what is that called? The green ones. I've seen the
Yes,
green ones.
I know the common name for me.
Potato
I've always
vine.
called them elephant ears. Yeah, and one of the things that I love about my yard that some people might not like is I like to touch and feel. So like when you're going
Yes.
through, it's almost like a
Sensory.
hidden jungle.
Yes.
And plants, believe it or not, like to be touched. I do have hydrangeas sprinkled all throughout. Right now, of course, they're naked, I guess you can say, with the naked statue lady.
It's okay.
But they're feeling right at home with her. But they'll lose their leaves this time of year, but then they come out with a force. Now these are different. These are your pinnacle hydrangeas, where I could cut these down to the ground and they will bloom in the spring. They don't have to be like oak hydrangea. Yeah, those are, I'm hoping one of those areas I have sprinkler systems, of course. You can't put stuff in front of them.
And of course,
but I've got to have
this,
plants.
Orange snake is for your Christmas
Correct.
celebration lights.
Yes, yes.
We will take a video of that later.
Yes. Some more tractor seat plants. What you'll see quite a few of these in my yard because one, I love them.
that.
Yeah, this is the bloom. You saw them all in the front. There was no yellow petals left any, but this is how they.
Delicate and beautiful.
Now this is my red banana. He doesn't look so good right now, of course, mainly because of the winter.
You're still handsome, buddy.
Yeah. I did have bananas, believe it or not, this year. We had bananas this year that were very good. But the red bananas, they get very big. Looks, last year, got taller than the house, but he doesn't do well with the winter, so I have to take him in the house soon. This is my muley grass. A lot of people refer to my yard as the jungle.
Yes.
Because I love, once again, it's like you're going through a safari.
And you say thank you for the compliment.
Right?
Oh, Joey, you have outdid yourself.
Yeah, once again, just to kind of give a little history, there used to be, where the camera person's standing, a Jeep used to sit right there, and then there was not a single thing. As you've probably noticed, I do live on a semi-busy road, and one of the things I want to do is to plant as much plant and vegetation as possible so it quiet things down.
That,
yep. I don't want people, I'm out here swimming and people are like, hey, what are you doing?
Hey, can
I get a
come
cocktail?
over? Yeah.
So right now you don't really tell as much, but usually in the summertime you cannot hear as much traffic. You don't see the street.
It absorbs.
Yep. And then I've got my plumeria, where this is going to be the first time I've put it in the ground. So we'll see if the leaves were huge this year, smells absolutely, and if you don't know what plumeria is, it's the leis that they put on you in Hawaii. South Florida, of course, has a bunch of them. But we'll see how she does. If she doesn't do too well, I guess I'll have to get another one. This is Black Knight. I believe it's Black Knight or Black Magic Knight or something. I was so excited that it's doing this right now, but it gets these little fuzzies, and as you'll see, it's almost like a little gooseneck. And it has little white furry.
That's natural, it doesn't come up straight?
Usually they are straight. I don't know why this one did, but I guess you just got an extra fun one this time.
Yeah.
A little zhuzh.
this, of course, rosemary?
Yep, good old rosemary. I plant rosemary in the yard because mosquitoes do not like rosemary.
Oh, okay.
So if ever, of course, I love it for cooking,
Lovely by
but
the pool.
it smells wonderful, of course, to the touch, but it's also a very good mosquito repellent. My evergreens, I love topiaries and shaping things. You don't see as much, of course, in the backyard, but I wanted to add a little more structure. One of the things that I don't have a specific, I say I like the English style, I love the cottage, so I like a mixture of everything. My biggest thing is put as many plants in the yard as you can, fill it with pine straw, and you never have to pull weeds.
It's fantastic.
And if you have a weed, you never know.
Good tip.
This is my hibiscus. I've had her for probably, it was one of the ones I saved from the clearance rack. And I mean, you see how big she is, but we'll see if she makes it, if she'll make it through this afternoon. I'm sure she'll be fine.
Is this a bloom right here? Oh,
Yep, there's a
showing off.
Yep, that's one of the blooms.
Who's showing off? My goodness. I'm ready for my close-up. Fantastic. Oh, another water feature.
Oh yes, I love, one of the things I love is the water, just the sound too. It's very relaxing when you're out here just working in the yard and turn the fountains on, but I love my palms. There's a little baby zinnia. That's one of the things I love to do too, is like I said, save the seeds, and then I'll put seeds everywhere, plant them. Because of course, if you're gonna have milkweed and monarchs, you gotta have flowers for them.
That's right.
That's my, what is it called? What's the drink with the mint?
Mojito.
It's a mojito. That's a mojito. Such a unique plant. And I love it's so soft too.
Beautiful.
And it's almost, I don't know if the camera can see it, but if you look at it from an angle, it almost gives like a bluish tint to it. Almost like a velvet. Very velvety. Oh, this is a rabbit's foot fern. I've had this fern, I've had maybe 10 years. And I don't do a single thing to it. In the winter, you'll be like, oh my goodness, it died, and then you forget about it and it comes back.
Let's see them feet.
Yep, the rabbit's foots are all underneath.
Ooh.
As you can see, it's actually attached itself to the ground.
Good for him.
But that's a little rabbit's foot's in there.
Oh,
so this starts to be my more tropical zone because it does have the cover of the building. Some fishtail palms, bird of paradise. I've got some gingers. This is some false fascia. Some false fascia. We call it our Mary Jane plant.
Yes, it looks like marijuana.
Yeah. So remember when I told everybody I have a greenhouse? This is my greenhouse, but this is all the plants that cannot stand.
We should have been here yesterday.
Yep.
My goodness.
But that's all my the stuff that can't stand outside.
Now tell me about this, Joey. This is very unusual. How many do you have?
There's only two. These are tree ferns. They are, I love.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people think, oh, they've got bark or stuff like that, but you'll see the little new ones trying to come up. Very furry.
Yes.
It's like a yeti.
Like a fiddlehead. Yes.
Yes, but I love these. They remind me when I was a kid of E.T. If you ever remember E.T. and when they were running through the forest and going through the ferns.
Wonderful, yes.
These are them. They do very well in South Florida. Of course, they love the warmer climate, but I've been able to cultivate them underneath. We have giant oak trees, and hopefully the house, I'm hoping these two will make it through the winter. Oh, this is a Chinese lantern. It has a few other names, but of course, right now I can't think of them. Also called a flowering maple. If you notice the leaf, it looks like a maple tree. It does very well. I did get some blight this summer during it, so all the leaves fell off, but she comes back with a vengeance. Very easy to cultivate. You can cut these off, stick them in some Miracle Grow.
Perhaps you might want to share some with me.
Of course. Hey, it's a parting gift. It's a parting gift that I'll send you. Yes. But does very well. I've given several people. A friend of mine has one all the way up in Cincinnati right now. It's 7 degrees, and she sends me pictures of, look at your tree blooming in the window. I also have some pagoda. You'll see they're known for having some of the largest flowers. That's the flower head. Big old looks like a pagoda, like a Chinese pagoda. They spread like crazy, so be careful with them. But I just love I love the uniqueness of them. I also have some red ones some friends gave me, but I did just put in a pond. This pond is only 5 or 6 months old. I did put some fish. It's one of those, I save plants, but I'll save animals. I have some fish. You You can maybe see them over there. It's a little cold, so they're kind of staying down in the bottom. But those fish are actually from some houses here in my neighborhood. I'd look on Facebook Marketplace or other items, you know, that's getting rid of stuff, and they're like, hey, there's some fish. Anybody want them? I go pick them up.
Oh,
These
wow.
two. This is, I call it the cabbage of the pond. This is water hyacinths. The nice thing about these is if you do have goldfish, the goldfish love to lay eggs in this. I've only had the pond 4 or 5 months, and I've already had 4 or 5 babies.
Oh, how wonderful.
But the thing is, too, you have to be careful. You'll see some over there, just throw them. But it spreads like crazy. But it's good, though, because we've got bald eagles, we've got hawks, and the fish stay up underneath it, so they're not having, you know,
and you
sushi.
put this in yourself?
I did. I put it in myself. I think it was 2 or 3 tons of rock that I brought in. It's about 4 or 5 foot deep.
Oh, what is this weeping darling I see here?
That's a weeping mulberry. That's another one I saved. Remember in the front yard we talked about the Acer or the Japanese maple I saved?
Yes.
That was its brother sitting next door to it, and I said I'll take him too.
I'll take them both.
And it's absolutely gorgeous. The birds love it. It does have actual mulberries on it that you can eat. Now, one plant that you do not want to eat, lick, touch, or anything with is this one here. This is a castor bean.
I've heard of
And they have the prettiest seeds.
Yes.
Yeah, they're super poisonous, but let's see if I can get one open real quick. I think they have some of the most gorgeous looking seeds. So look at that. Almost looks like a June bug or something.
Yes. Oh my God.
But you got to be careful with that because it is highly, highly poisonous. One thing I wanted to show you, this tree is very interesting. It's another one of those that I saw it, had to have it. This is, some of you might be familiar, I talked about a mimosa tree.
Yes.
This is a chocolate mimosa. Now there's not much to see right now. All you see is this stick that's giant going out here. This was maybe, it was maybe only maybe 4 or 5 feet last year. And it took off this year, but it has the prettiest against all this green, just like, you know, so like the textures of the grass, the dark color. It just has a nice red hue in the yard, like a chocolate, like a dark chocolate look.
Adding something different going with the black night grass.
Yep. So like I said, I like the cottage feel of different textures, different flowers. I like the tropical.
Into this yard,
Yep.
I'm telling you. A lot of love and a lot of thought. This is a fantastic specimen. Now, are you going to have to cover that
The Gava?
this evening?
He should be fine because this is me making this up, so I don't know if this is true or not. But it's a desert plant, right? A lot of times I think it's that deserts get extremely cold, so that should do perfectly fine. And I love it too. A lot of people don't like them because of the spikes. I usually come out here and cut the spikes off so the dogs don't lose an eye. But I just love the feel of them and the different contrast, just like with the yuccas. The yucca is the same thing. It's just a little extra. We'll see a lot of pine straw right now, but during the middle of summer, you will not see a single piece of pine straw because everything just completely fills in. All these, the sage, the irises, you'll see a little bit of the irises starting to come up here. I've got comb flowers, daylilies.
We are coming back. May I please save the date for the spring? You'll let me know.
Of course.
And we will come back and you can show off your work.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yes,
I can't wait.
We will be back.
Thanks for coming. I hope you enjoyed it.
Oh my goodness. Yes, and my parting gifts, I'm going to have to rent a truck.
I'll go pack them all up.
Yes, yes. Bravo, and thank you so much. And good luck in the tour, but we'll be back before then.
Yes,
And
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
And tune in next week, we will have an update.